I loves me some 1 degree of Chunky B.
Now, I just have to make a comment about Chunky B. Have you ever seen him looking so good?
The panel then includes actress Lainie Kazan, comedian Chunky B, and Playboy TV host Julie Strain. Chunky?
What was the question? Man, this is gonna be a good one. This is
I'm
gonna be a
excited.
good one. Have you noticed how much a roll we're on? 1 degree of Chunky B.
I know. We've had some
At-
really
at Chunky
good
B,
guests in.
ChunkyB.tv.
That's right.
Speaking of ChunkyB.tv, guys, gals, we know you're tuning in and you're even sharing because our numbers keep growing. We could not be more happy. We've got a great guest coming on in just a second, but Adler and I, right off the bat, you know him, you love him. Give it up for the executive producer of Love, In the Garage of Love, Gary Adler.
Thank you, Chunky. What a warm welcome. Happy to be back doing the show. You know, it's one of my favorite things to do this.
You know,
during the week.
yeah. We normally would do our podcast on a Tuesday.
That's right.
But we've did a schedule change because our guest that we're going to mention in just a second.
Right.
Our show is getting more intelligent. We're not afraid to get the guest that expands the mind, shares the wisdom, and has an. Look at me, I'm getting ahead of myself.
We don't go for the low-hanging fruit.
No.
That's easy.
But we shake the tree when the fruit is ripe.
That's yeah.
Hey, you guys, once again, you guys, he's no Travis Spencer, but we'll take it. We got him off the streets, and he's just a lovable guy. Andy Davey, the technician of smoothness.
Yes. And by the way, excellent job of directing last week.
Oh, thank you so much.
You know something? He's not even kidding. You did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Really.
Oh, good.
And speaking of great job, how about great beer? How about Venice Duck, ladies and gentlemen? These guys just keep on pouring the duck. If you want to get your quack on, do not go to anywhere else but the Venice Duck. They're great sponsors. And some of you people tuned in and thought I was kidding, but Astroglow is still coming at us with product. Now, check this out. This bottle, you don't drink it. You put this bottle in a little spray bottle. Give yourself a little facial. Seriously.
With Astroglow, Andy.
With
A facial
Astroglow.
with Astroglow.
And they
I
sent
would
me,
prefer not to hear that anymore.
they sent me, Andy, am I on?
Oh, yeah. You're on. It's your show, dude.
Okay, listen to this. They sent me this whole thing here. Guys, I know you think I'm crazy, but
Is there a website that folks
there's,
at home
go
can
to go to Astroglow and just, astroglow.com.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Thank you for asking, Adler. That's why you're a great executive producer.
Thank you.
So just go to that. Go to my website. If you're doing any shopping, zip through ChunkyB.tv. Use the Amazon on our stuff, and then we get a little bit of something out of you, and you get a little something out of us, and then it's a bubble bath for
right.
all of us together. I don't
And
know.
like us on iTunes and share our show with as many folks as you can, please.
Right on. Now, without further ado, rarely does a podcast get to brag about the guest being an Oscar winner, motherfucker. Yeah,
That's right.
We have got
That's right.
an
There's kids watching.
Oscar-winning the award, the Oscar.
Yeah, let's do a small tally. We've had Emmy,
Emmy,
Grammy,
Tony,
and now
Now-
this is the hat trick. This is the award hat trick, if there's such a thing.
yeah, right. The Oscar. Without further ado, I'm just going to flat out say, please say hello to Chris Miller.
Yes.
Chris Miller in the Garage of Love.
There he is, folks.
Very happy to be here.
I'm going to just dial everybody in right off the bat. You have an Oscar-winning documentary called Undefeated.
That's correct.
Undefeated was made back in, if my homework is correct, 2011.
Yeah, 2011.
You won the Oscar the following year, right?
Yep.
Undefeated, small high school football team that had nothing but a losing record, never won a playoff game in 100 years. How did you find the exact time to hit that East Tennessee high school football team?
Well, I don't know that you've found the exact time as far as thinking that would be the year they'd, potentially win a playoff game. So it'd been about 110 years, like you said, before they had ever won a playoff game. And beyond that, not only not winning a playoff game, they were a perennial loser. I mean, they would go years without winning a game, not even come close. And in that area of Memphis, where we have a lot of famous legal cases and murder cases, and the year we won the Oscar, we went up against one of the Memphis 3 movies that was actually favored to win, if there's such a thing. And so there's a lot going on in that area, kind of a epitome of the most desperate, poorest major cities, if it's, we consider Memphis, I think we can, a U.S. major city. And about a high school that was a team that was actually paid to go to other affluent high schools
To get their ass whooped.
to get their ass whooped at homecomings as a way to help pay for their athletic program. And we had a couple of filmmakers, Dan Lindsay and TJ Martin, who were the directors, and Richard Middlemas, who is the on-the-ground producer, who discovered this area and this team. And it was based on a recruit who's the character OC in the movie, who they had pitched to us, and I was president of a company called Spitfire Pictures at the time, that this could be a real-life Blindside, if you will. So he was a kid who was coming from a very, very poor area, playing for a very bad football team, but he himself was a 300-pound lineman and had all the potential to go to a Division I school.
Right.
And I said, hey, let's do this for real. And our take on it from a movie perspective was, well, there's already been a Blindside. It's not, we don't necessarily need to do that again. It was a huge hit, and to see that as a documentary, I'm sure would interest some people, but to market it as a movie, I'm sure it's perfectly fine, but whatever. But they were given a little bit of resources to go down there and shoot something, because they had done which this show I'm sure will appreciate, had done a short film on beer pong, and a beer pong tournament, the national tournament that would seem like a ridiculous thing to do anything about, that was riveting. And they were, it was just fantastic to watch. So because of their talent, we decided to give them just a little bit of resources to go down and just see what's down there. And then what they came back with was some really interesting things. They showed what poverty really looks like in America. They showed what these kids who have nothing really literally go through just to get to school every day.
And they showed a phenomenal coach.
And they showed ultimately what sold me was the phenomenal coach. And
Bill Courtney.
Bill Courtney, who we call Coach Bill, who, when I saw him, we went back to him and said, listen, that's your movie. If you can, not to belittle any of the other characters, but if you can surround your film around, well, I'll use a storytelling term, protagonist in Bill Courtney, and that's our character that we're telling this film through. He's magic on film. I mean, it was literally
he was unbelievable.
He just popped off the screen. So they agreed to do that, and off they went. And they made this documentary feature that we use the term verite style, on what that, if people aren't aware of that style, and I might butcher it myself. It's essentially instead of documentary where people are like just talking head interviews and clip shows, and they're showing old clips or new clips. It's really where a camera follows the life of people. And so, you may have an interview here or there, but just purely for exposition. But for the most part, I think there might be 3 10-second interviews in the whole film. And otherwise, you have these 2 cameras. These guys shot their own film, edited their own film, and just followed these people's lives. So it takes a real, obviously a lot of dedication to do that. You don't really plan shoots quite the same way. We'll meet here or whatever. You're just there.
Right.
And what's remarkable about that film is what they happen to be there for. And a lot of times in verite films, I do a lot of regular narrative features with movie stars and bigger films, and was a big part of my background. And the hardest thing to do is to do, I find documentaries much more difficult to make entertaining, but by far the hardest thing to do is a verite documentary, where you really have to have a lot of things happen for you. And some people say, well, it's just like, you have to have a lot of luck. But on another level, it is an accident that they happen to be there with the camera when that happens.
You guys made that happen.
There's a lot of talent involved with those 2 guys.
The town is Manassas. Am I pronouncing that right?
Manassas.
Manassas.
You watched the movie recently, right?
I just watched it
too.
again because I know Mr. Miller was going to be in the Garage
And
of Love.
last week, we asked our audience at home to watch it so that they can relate to the show. But if you haven't watched the show and you get Netflix, if you haven't watched the movie, you get Netflix. It's free, so just order it.
Okay, I am in the books as one of the biggest wimps.
Yeah. I
Cried
know.
like 6 times.
Oh my
7
God.
times.
Unbelievable.
You know, and what about poor Money? Money,
Yeah.
you know, was just a great, smart guy. Twisted up his knee, and finally got to play the last
Yeah.
game, which was
Then got the
first playoff.
scholarship. The
And then
all
got that
expenses paid.
private scholarship.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what was interesting about Money, I think, as a character, just shows how fragile life can be.
Yeah.
Because you can have someone who's in a tough situation to begin with, trying his best, is a straight A student, trying to find a way to get into college, which the odds of him getting into college in the best of circumstances are close to 0. And then is pretty sure he'll never play football again, which is the only other thing he really ever loves, and blows out his knee and does everything he can to kind of make it back. And you just realize, you know, a lot of people's lives, not just these kids, you know, that time, there's a time and place where that's the highlight of your life. And he seemed to know in the movie that was,
Yeah.
he was aware of that at
But
the
he
time.
actually
Right.
said it. He's like, I'm too small to play pro. This is it for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
It was too small to play
Right.
college, any level. And he was a lineman who weighed, you know, maybe
Right.
210.
Can I,
And that was it.
I want to ask a question that's been about the movie.
Okay.
Okay, when Coach Bill gave Chavis, the uncommon man, was he setting him up a little bit to do what he did, you think?
As far as
When he gave it to Money, he's like, Money's my uncommon man.
that was
Remember
not,
that?
was not
Right.
that was not a setup.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah,
What
it
an
was not-
unbelievable part of the movie.
Yeah, so it
Wait,
was-
When
Thir-
they gave Chavis the
Chavis,
Uncommon Man award,
and he did-
Chavis said, "My uncommon man is Money. I
Right.
have something to say."
that was not a setup for him to say something about Money. It was in general, I think, a setup for Chavez to continue his positive growth,
Right.
positive reinforcement from the fact that he had come back from being suspended from the team, and had in fact all of a sudden started walking the line. And good things started happening to
Yeah,
his
playing good ball too.
Good things started happening to his life in the first time, and I think Bill just as positive reinforcement, saying, "Hey, listen, this is what you can do for him and the whole team." But his speech about Money was definitely not a setup.
That's awesome.
I've got a question for you, Chris Miller. You know, I'm a fan of yours. You know, I'm a fan of the movie. But my question to you is, the documentary starts off with a loss, and the name of the documentary is Undefeated. Can you break that down for the common man?
Well, I think that it's a good question. In general, I think the Undefeated isn't meant to be literal.
Right.
That maybe the quickest answer I could say. It's a good title for a movie. And the kids at the end of the day.
Sarah Palin liked that title so much she used it herself.
She did. In fact, she was she used it just around the time our film was
Yeah.
coming out.
Was there any locking horns with the?
We weren't that concerned.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was fine. But at the end, I think it's meant to be more of a metaphor. At the end of the day, obviously, the kids remained undefeated.
Right. What a great documentary.
And now, when it was in the can, did you have any idea what you had like in the big picture, or you just think you had a great movie?
It was. Well, I'll tell you. I think we did know what we had. A few of us. I worked at a company that was a pretty big company that had a major narrative film division, so making movies that you would normally go see in the movie theater with movie stars, that I was also part of a group who was in charge of. And then we had this documentary division, which was not a redheaded stepchild by any means, but was not the money generator for the company, and it was more of a passionate, passion
Labor of love,
labor of love division.
like this.
Exactly what the Garage of Love is all about. Chris,
Exactly.
thanks for bringing that all the way home.
Of course. And we had a few documentaries going on at a time, and we had Foo Fighters Back and Forth, which was a major music documentary which won the Grammy that year. And we were finishing up Harrison, Living in a Material World, which is Martin Scorsese's 2-part doc that ended up going to HBO and being a major hit for them, which won the People's Choice Award. And so those were the big kind of docs happening at the time. And then 4 or 5 big, films over between $20 and $50 million happening at the time. And so Undefeated was this little film under the radar. And a couple of us who were working on it every day were sort of raising our hand in the corner saying, meanwhile, this thing is going on over here, and it's pretty damn good. And it really wasn't until, and I knew the first time I saw the first cut, it was going to be really good. Now, the difference between really good and great is, 10,000 miles.
And
Right.
some really good editing.
And
It is editing, and that's one thing that I really noticed.
Yeah, there's
How
not a
awesome-
frame wasted in that movie.
Yeah, and
yeah.
one of the points that you brought up about Money when he receives a scholarship, just to quickly review that, he doesn't think he's going to be able to go to college. It doesn't seem to be working out, but a benefactor that isn't named in the film knew the story through some connections of Coach Bill and ended up deciding to pay for Money's education to a 4-year school. And that scene in the movies, if you cried 7 times, there's not a human being who won't cry at
Oh
least
my God,
one
dude.
time during.
That's the part.
When he reveals that he does have a
And-
scholarship.
and,
Yeah,
you know,
and-
just the way it unfolded, and I just kept, like, after he got off the phone, like, Coach Bill didn't say, "Money, come over here." He was coaching the team, you
Yeah.
know, like, it was amazing what he was
in
doing.
the middle of practice, he brought him
Yeah.
over. Money probably thought he was in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, but what was interesting about that is that when we edited that film, we had test screened it for friends and family just along the way to see how we were doing, which is sort of a normal thing. And when you're doing a documentary, especially one this size, it's all free. So it's whoever you could drag in to come see this thing. And there'd be times where, depending on that scene, could be cut 10 seconds shorter or 10 seconds longer, and it wouldn't move anybody. I tell the story a lot. But cut exactly the way it is, you just got tears on your face for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just, when you talk about editing, how Dan and TJ found that moment and how that moment didn't exist just for the slightest difference in editing. It was
I'm
just
tearing up right
I
now.
know,
it's
Because I'm
crazy,
going
right?
over that scene where he drops to his knee
Yeah.
and you
You
get to
can't
see
believe
in that
it.
youngster's
Like,
face.
Yeah, he was just given life, you know? He
And
really
it was
was.
totally unexpected.
Life after Memphis.
Not in his wildest dreams that he ever expect that to happen. And he eventually went
Ole Miss?
to the same college as OC, who was the original idea behind the film, who did get a scholarship as the football manager of the team. So
Yeah,
How great is that?
I love. There's a couple of subtle little title cards, and one of them was, you know, that OC played his first game in front of 80,000 people, which was like, whew, just
Yeah, I know.
because, and then you imagine that in your head. You know, there's no one telling you that.
They didn't have 800 in the
Yeah,
audience
I know,
and in the
crazy,
crowd,
right?
Yeah.
even in the first playoff game.
no.
Yeah. Or
Dude.
like when they said Chavis changed his number from 0 to 35.
35.
That just sort of makes you think about it, and there's no exposition there. I love that part. I love that about the movie.
You know, when you think of documentaries and award-winning documentaries, you've got Bowling for Calavine.
That's right.
You've got the Penguins, March of the Penguins.
Right.
Man on a Wire,
Yeah. The Cove.
The Cove.
Like, this is,
So
you're in good company.
You're
dude.
right in the wheelhouse of monumental award-winning documentary Oscar winners. You got to feel good about yourself. And then when I first met you, you're just chilling up in North Venice watching Little League.
That's right.
Yeah, well, that's true.
We're-
a lot
by the
of
way,
people-
I once again, a 4-panel of North Venice Little League dads.
it's good. Most importantly.
Why don't we make a documentary on
Yeah,
that?
there you go.
Well,
Wow.
it was a lot of people. I'm lucky enough. I've been working in the film business for 20 years. I work on enough films that people have heard of, and a lot of people don't know that this was one of the films that I sort of was a big part of. And when they hear about it, this is the one that they kind of flip for. They couldn't like do a second take, which like I'm not talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
I couldn't be talking about Undefeated, though, you know. It's like, no, yeah, that's my film. So yeah.
Let me ask you.
Show, you know what? Show the movie real
right
quick,
here,
Chum.
right here, guys.
Can you get that, Andy?
Check it out. Am I in?
You're in.
Okay. If you have a heart and it's beating, I say see this movie. I was going to say if you're a sports fan, see this. No, I'm just saying if you're a
anything.
human being,
My wife loved the movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
It goes way outside the gridiron. It goes beyond. Now, were you there on location? Were you?
I never went on location. No.
Okay, because I was going to say, what was the safety for the crew? Was there any safety issues?
No. There was no safety issues, and there was no safety if there were issues.
Okay, so everybody. Yeah, I mean, so
I imagine it was a pretty skeleton crew, right?
Yeah, it was about. It was 3 guys.
right. I know, but you know, you can catch a
This could happen to us.
win.
We could win the Podcast Academy Award.
And you know something? And I want to let you know, Chris Miller, we are documentary savvy because one of my favorite documentaries, and all of ours, was written and directed by Gabrielle Capelthwaite, who did Blackfish.
Yes.
And
A 2-time guest on our show.
yeah.
Yes. Well, it was interesting. I worked as head of production worldwide for National Geographic Films, actually, for 5 years. So I came on right after March of the Penguins, and we made a couple of natural history films while I was there, Arctic Tale and The Last Lions. And Blackfish was a film that we could have made and didn't. The Cove was a film we could have made and didn't. And there were a lot of politics about corporate sponsorships and stuff like that when you
Oh,
get into
yeah.
a huge entity like National Geographic. But those were both films that we wanted to do.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
so-
don't say anything bad about Blackfish.
Oh, I was about to say, big fan of Blackfish.
Okay.
And a big fan of The Cove, Heartbreaking films.
Yes.
And having produced Last Lions, which is also, if you're interested in natural history films, is a very gritty natural history film. It's not a warm and fuzzy film about lions in their real life. And seeing Cecil the lion be killed and have his head cut off this week sort of struck a chord with
Crazy,
me.
right?
As I spent 2 years of my life making a lions film with Derek and Beverly Jobert, who are sort of the preeminent wildlife photographers in the world.
Okay, so wait a second. I'm not catching this whole thing.
It's going social right now. There was a dentist from Minnesota, I guess, who's a big game hunter.
His life is just ruined now.
He killed a lion in Africa, and it went viral. And they found out, that the lion was part of a scientific study for 20 years.
It was a big tourist attraction
collared,
in Zimbabwe.
and this guy shot it.
And he hired.
I'm sorry, I missed him. What were you doing for that?
I did nothing for that, thank God. But I made a film called Last Lions. It just struck a chord with everybody. But being so involved with lions, and there's the filmmakers Derek and Beverly Jobert, who are very famous people, but very on the forefront of conservation in Africa, and almost like royalty, and I mean that in the best way. Yeah. And I haven't talked to them since this happened, but I can't imagine what's going through their head, although they've seen this type of thing happen so much. But to see a beautiful animal like that destroyed is something.
Yeah. It's terrible.
But so documentaries take all sorts of forms.
Right.
I got a good. You want to do a tease?
Here's what I want to tease.
All right.
I made some phone calls because I always like to do a little background check up on our guests.
We have our own private eyes.
And listen, here's what we're going to do before
trouble now.
we're going to take a short little break. We're going to be right back. I want you to check out the little bits we do in the middle because it's kind of like a production value that makes us look cooler. But Chris Miller is going to come back and you're going to talk to us about something that you got. I think my buddy said you're in post with Juvenile.
That's correct.
All right, we're going to talk about Juvenile in the post. And he's coming out with some more magic. This is Chris Miller. We are 1 Degree of Chunky B in the Garage of Love. Adler and Andy, we're going to be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Hey, you guys, Chunky B. 1 Degree of Chunky B in the Garage of Love. And if you want to get your quack on, you go to Venice Duck. And I'm not even kidding. This is a good beer. Tell your friends. Don't be afraid to get your quack on. Dude, this is actually really good beer.
It's fucking great beer.
You're so lucky.
Oh shit, I'm still recording.
Hey, you guys, music provided by Play Up Music. That's playupmusic.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Miller, a film producer, and I'm on 1 Degree of Chunky B.
Black is the night that holds you down. Black is the night that holds you down.
Hey, you guys, we are back in the Garage of Love. I just love actually expanding the mind and some of the junk that's in the movie theaters now and some of the stuff you've seen on the screen or even on Netflix. When you find something that just hits home on so many levels and it just makes you feel good. But at the same time, and Chris, I don't mean to, say anything negative about Undefeated, but there was still an emptiness at the end of that movie.
I agree.
Because, Coach Bill finally wised up and said, it's about my kids now. It's about my own family. Mm-hmm. And at the end of that documentary, you guys put up the graphic that those two teams played each other.
Yes.
And there was no result of the final of that game, unless I missed something.
Well, there was a result. You didn't miss it. But
so I didn't look away and look over and so you guys never made the announcement of which team won.
We didn't think it was important to say, and I think that most people might figure out who won by the fact that we didn't say who won. But
that's the conclusion I went to.
Look at that, making us think.
Yeah,
I like that stuff.
I love the whole father-son, full circle. This guy's dad left when he was like 4 years old, Coach Bill.
Sure.
And he told that story about
the equipment carrying. Dude, you can make me cry again.
It's great. And then at the end, they show him carrying his kids' equipment.
But I can tell you that not a lot of people know this. No one on the film knew this. I don't know if they know this now. Before I got in the film business, I was an athletic director in high school for kids just like this. So here in Los Angeles, for what they used to call emotionally disturbed teenagers, and they were really kids who were either coming into our school from jail or about to go to jail or something like that. And I was their basketball and baseball coach. And I did it for 5 years. And I could tell you, I don't know how Coach Bill felt about it, His thing was he was going to do it with his kids, but basically spend more time with his family and his kids, which the movie shows he probably needed to. And I mean, although his family was fantastic, but you could tell for himself he needed to do. I know for me, 5 years is almost like being in the military in a way. It's like it was as much as I could give to it. I gave everything I had to it.
Right.
I would never trade it for. And while I was doing it, I thought I'd be doing it my whole life. But by year 5, I couldn't do it anymore. It was so emotionally gut wrenching to have kids that would play for me and then be shot and killed holding up a liquor store, or something like that. And you realize at some point I just wanted to do something else with my life because it was just making me unhappy, to be honest. Happy and unhappy was just a huge roller coaster ride. So I actually related very strongly to Bill throughout the whole film without telling anyone, because I didn't want anyone to sort of or taint any of the storytelling that was happening on the camera.
Right.
Did you go to the Academy Awards?
I did not go to the Academy Awards itself, but we had a big party right afterwards.
Did you talk to Bill afterwards?
I've talked to Bill many times. We premiered the film at South by Southwest the year before and spent a lot of time with Bill. And Bill at the time...
was he part of panels and things like that?
He was part of panels. He got represented by William Morris.
Wow.
It became a whole thing during South by Southwest. And we were going to build a little career for Bill, which I think he's taken some advantage of, but probably not to the level that everyone dreamed. But I think Bill certainly got his moment in the sun.
It's great, man.
Yeah.
Post-production, you're in now, Juveniles.
Yes.
Can you break that down for us?
Sure. Juveniles is a regular feature film. It's not a documentary, so a story, if you will, like a regular movie. And it's a independent film, small film, but I think it's going to be a great film. And an independent film, and I define that sort of not made by a studio, because you can have an independent film that's a $50 million film, which I've been involved in making, or anything down to $200,000 film for whatever matters. But I'm a big believer that those films need to be different than what the studios make. I think if you try and make a film that's like a studio film, but it's not quite a studio film, you usually come up really short. It's watered down. You don't have the type of stars people are expecting to see. It's not.
Few exceptions to that.
Yeah,
rule.
there are some exceptions to that rule, but not a lot. And so, Juveniles is a film that is based on a true setting, many true settings, which is rural America, where people live in trailer homes. I won't even say trailer parks, or trailer homes in rural areas of outskirts of smaller cities, where there's no police to patrol the area. People could care less about these people. They live in poverty, yet they're people. And it's a story of a teenage senior in high school trying to find his way to get his family and himself out of this world, which is a very violent world, as you can imagine, people taking advantage of these people. And it's a redemption story where his father's killed by a person who runs the town, and seems to be the only way out for our lead character to get out of the town is through that guy. And it's a very violent, R-rated movie. Again, when you're making these type of films, I feel it's important to do something that you can't see on television, because there's very little you can't see on television. And television, as everyone says, and they're all right in my opinion, is incredible nowadays. It's never been better. So you want to make something that can compete on the level of quality, but also can be something that you can't just turn on to a channel and see. And so I think our film definitely qualifies for that, and early reception is people really into it. Lead actor is a kid named Bo Knapp, who is blowing up right now as an actor. Just finished Ang Lee's last film, and Stephen Moyer, who you may remember from True Blood, who was Vampire Bill, is plays our antagonist, and Kathleen Rose Perkins, who's the star of Episodes, plays his mother. And so we
Love
have
that show, by the way.
So, and she's fantastic, and our whole cast, we just really, again, I'll say lucked out, but I'll give ourselves credit for casting incredible actors.
There you go.
Okay, let me jump in, because I've got a really strong thought that I want to share with you right
Please.
now. Next time you do a film, I want to be an extra.
Okay.
I want to be an extra, and I want to prove to you that I'm a good extra. Then your next film, maybe one line or two.
That could happen.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then after that...
You won't believe who we give lines to in our movies.
Really?
Yeah, it's anybody.
Andy had a few last movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Andy's been in like 3 of his movies.
Yeah.
Check it the fucking... Jeez, come on.
I mean, the back of my shoulders in Juveniles, for God's sake.
Really? You promise I could be in your next film?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Hey, let me ask something.
Okay.
You want to ask something?
No, I just want to make sure that we all recognize the fact that we got witnesses that I'm going to be in
He's
Chris's
just been
next
casted. He
film.
just got casted.
Can Chunky warm up your next film?
Dude,
Like in between takes?
Sure.
the crew.
Absolutely.
I'll tell jokes to the crew.
Absolutely.
All right,
You'll have
seriously,
tough competition.
What,
I'll tell you.
you've been a filmmaker a long time. What are your top 3 movies?
Oh, that's a tough one. But I would say just off the top of my head, and this will be the first time I ever pulled this off actually when someone asked me, and they're not going to be original, but the Godfather, certainly, and take your pick between 1 and 2, but I would go with 1.
Okay.
Scarface,
Excellent.
no doubt. Scarface.
Just watched it again for the 45th time.
And
the
if
other
you
day.
haven't seen Scarface uncut on Blu-ray, and you may think, oh, I've seen that. No, you probably haven't in a while
It's
because
pretty-
he just, when it comes on TV, it's never uncut, no matter where you're watching it. But I watched it uncut on Blu-ray probably 3 times in the last 4 months. It's just fantastic. I just put it on in the background.
Do you do a lot of blow?
Do I do a lot of work?
Just asking. Random question.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to answer that question.
Of course you're not going to answer that question.
And what's number 3? Give me number 3.
It would have to be Shawshank Redemption. I just
Yeah.
think that film is a perfect movie, and I think one thing all 3 have in common, which is one of my favorite things, is the music in all 3
Yeah.
are. If you did nothing but play the music in a theater and turn
Yeah.
down the lights, you'd be happy. I think that.
Where does Shakes the Clown fit in that group, you
Yeah.
think?
I don't think it does fit.
on your list or mine?
Are you excited that Vacation's being released today?
I got a boner about it. yeah. I mean, it's getting a little more flatulent now.
Hey, when you're
So,
flipping through the
yeah.
channels on television, what makes you stop and go, how in the fuck did that get on?
Not much, because it's being in the business, you kind of get an idea of how things do get on, and it's people's agenda about what they put on, especially on TV, changes depending on who's running that company. And people don't realize, even people who want to be filmmakers or TV makers or whatever, content makers, like even you guys, that people's idea of what they want in content changes so fast, and there's such a huge need for content. On one level, the business is so hard when you're a content maker; it feels impossible at times. But you have to realize that there's a giant need for content. Having been on the other side,
Right.
like feeling like I can't find a movie to make. It's impossible. I can't find a movie to make. And yet I know there's 10,000 people out there who would love to give me a movie to make.
Sure.
But it's really a tricky thing that I would say
Absolutely.
don't give up, because your content could easily make it as far as you want to make it.
We've got a really good friend of ours named Stoney Westmoreland, great actor. Sent me a script today. I'm going to read it. I'm going to send it over to you.
You can read it now.
I'm not going to read it now.
Okay.
I just got it today.
You're not going to read it.
I'm going to read the fucking thing. I read. I read.
You're gonna send it to me, and I'm gonna have to tell you what it's about. And I know how this goes. Yeah, I know.
Look at Miller jumping on the
Yeah,
train.
I've already got people like this in my life.
I
get it.
almost read
I
almost
understand.
all of your screenplays.
Actually, I'm like that in my life. I pretend I read, and then people tell me what it is. But
There you go. You ever trust a screener? I mean, really?
I don't know what that means. What do
Well,
you mean?
you have like a 23-year-old reading scripts for you, and they're like, there's checking boxes going, hits this demo, hits that demo.
Oh no, but I can tell by what the movie's about whether I'm going to want to read it or not. I mean, just straight out what it's about. And what I tell people that work with me is, don't hand me a script unless you're telling me to make this movie. Like, I mean, don't if you're telling me invest money, make this movie, then hand me that script.
Right. Don't hand me a script and go, hey, what do you think
What
of
do you
this?
think?
Yeah, I don't
Right,
have no
right.
time for
I got
that.
no time for this. This is fucking goddamn Chris Miller, man.
No,
You're lucky you don't get punched
No,
by
but you'd be
him.
amazed by that, because I think it also helps as a writer when you're writing a script before you turn it in and you think you're going to give it to someone. Think about that question. Are you basically giving, is what you have good enough that someone's going to invest this money and make it?
Yeah.
If not, don't bother.
That's great advice. You know that he was a high school baseball star, right? Can we talk to him about that a little bit?
I would love to.
Chunky, do you have any questions for him in
Yes.
that
What
regard?
position?
I was a pitcher and a third baseman.
No, are you? Is that why your son's such a great pitcher? Because of
My son, at his age, he's 11. I had probably better stuff than he did.
at his age.
At his age, definitely,
doggy.
but he has a focus I didn't have. So he throws. He just doesn't walk anyone ever. And I taught him my curveball, which I had a really good curveball. But I would be a guy who would walk the bases loaded, then realize, what am I doing, and strike out the next 3 guys. He's a guy who just doesn't walk anyone. He'll go 3-0 and find a way to come back. And so he has a certain focus that I didn't have.
Are you going to play him outside of North Venice? You're going to put him on a club, travel?
No, I'm not. I spend half my days doing my movie business and half my days getting calls from people trying to put him on a travel team.
Right.
But I think that I'm a big believer in what John Smoltz said at the Hall of Fame, which is baseball shouldn't be a year-round sport. And I think especially for pitchers, they should be shutting it down. They should be getting 3-4
Totally
months
agree
off
with
where
that.
they're not throwing the ball.
Yep.
And I think that for my son, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3", and I weigh a lot less now. But when I used to play, I was like 230, 240. My brother's 6'5", 330 in his playing weight. So my son's going to be somewhere around there. If he still wants to play baseball, which I think is the key to playing baseball because it's a grind.
Yeah.
Sure.
If he still wants to play baseball, if he stopped now, he could pitch if he wanted to when he was 17 or 18, just because he'll be able to throw 90 plus miles per hour, just because of his size. So the idea that these guys need all this practice and all these reps and all that stuff, all it does is, in my mind, just burn your kid out.
Yeah.
When I was 13,
Because we're talking about mechanical joints.
Yeah.
Just doing
or
work.
even mentally.
Right.
When I was 13, I quit baseball, and it's a regret of mine. Although I don't regret having the life I have now. But when I was 13, I played 140 games between February and July. And I think that was the beginning and the end for me as far as just being burned out.
Yeah.
I mean, I played till I was 20, but I enjoyed it, less every year. It was like time for baseball practice. Jesus, I'd rather be surfing, and oftentimes did go surfing instead, and just wasn't into it. And so with my son, I'm just trying to keep him enjoying the game.
Yep.
Not be his coach, although I taught him how to pitch, but I don't coach him. I let his coaches coach him, and he plays during baseball season, and that's when he plays.
That's smart. There's two unofficial volunteers up at North Venice that you probably don't know about. There's the Bat Whisperer.
Ding,
Do you
ding,
know
ding,
who that
ding,
is?
ding, 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 ding.
That's Chunky B.
Yeah.
And then there's the Pitcher Whisperer.
No, it's Chris Miller.
That's Chris Miller. Yeah, he's the guy who's whispering in everyone's ear. Like,
But isn't it funny? Isn't it funny that experienced pitcher in his youth and has experience and knows how to tutelage. Okay, I was not that good of a hitter, but I just know the mental game of hitting, and that's why I've actually helped out other teams and other coaches, and people drop their kids off in my front yard, and I could coach them or motivate them to hit the ball. And my thing is, I can make any kid hit the ball.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, my daughter was on the softball team up in North Venice. She could not hit the ball. Then I worked with her. And then I went up to the coach and I said, Coach, please, she's going to have a weird batting stance. Just let her do it 2 times. First time she got up there, she had this like semi-Pete Rose kind of hit the ball, first hit. Everyone turned around and looked at me at the bleachers. Bat whisperer, bat whisperer.
That's awesome. Well, I know in pitching, I mechanically, and they're different for every pitcher. And I didn't learn a lot of this stuff till I was in high school, to be honest. But is one thing. But really, all I tell the pitchers are throw strikes. And it'd be amazing that like how often it's just a simple thing, right? But they don't think about that. They're thinking about a million different things.
Right.
And it's really just like you need to throw strikes. You need to constantly throw strikes. Yes, every single pitch. Every single pitch. It puts the pressure on the batter, puts the pressure on the umpire. And when kids start throwing strikes, good things start happening.
Yep. Speaking of strikes, what have you made that just totally struck out?
Oh, gosh.
That's a great question, man.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but what sucked that you put out?
Oh, now it's what sucked.
I'm just breaking it down.
Well, there was one that came to my mind about didn't suck and struck out, and I'm not going to even talk about that. It's too damaging. But I will say that there's one that we did this, which I recommend people go see because it's just so ridiculous. But we did a film called L.A. Riot Spectacular, which is probably a hard film to find, although I'm sure it's on Amazon. And it was a satire on the L.A. riots.
Oh my
If you
God.
could buy that. Calling it racist probably wouldn't be out of bounds.
Okay.
It wasn't meant to be necessarily. But I watched it with African American friends of mine who looked at me a little differently ever since they've seen that movie.
No.
And when I read the script, it was a great script. It really was. It was just a hilarious script. And I think in a little of it was a lot of inside jokes. So if you didn't live in Los Angeles when it was happening, I'm not sure you really would get it. But it wasn't a huge movie, so it didn't need to do that well. But it was just a satire on it, and it was racial jokes and just the most politically incorrect film. Not particularly smart. So really dumb racial jokes and stuff like that. The director and writer and I, though, still loved it. So we'd sit in the back of the screening room together, laughing our asses off,
Right.
as everyone else was probably trying to figure out who they're supposed to kill. But,
Uncomfortable
right.
snickering
Yeah, exactly.
going on in front of you.
Right.
but that would be one that didn't do particularly well.
What are your 3 shows that you DVR? Top 3.
Did I DVR now? Louis?
Yep, same here.
I do that, and I'm a little bit behind on Louis. True Detective, which I haven't watched at all this season, but
Okay.
loved the first season of and have that DVR'd.
Yeah.
Just thought that was, as a limited series, was fantastic
Yep.
and one of the best kind of ending episodes ever on television. And then number 3 would probably be, I still
Honey Boo Boo.
Honey Boo Boo. And I'll leave off baseball highlights that I watch every morning. But I'll say that I don't DVR it, but I still go back and watch The Sopranos.
Right.
So I've seen The Sopranos through 3 times, and I'll still go back and watch that just because the acting is so great, but the writing is so incredible, and
Right.
it still just blows me away how good the writing was on that show.
Do you like the ending of that?
I liked the ending of it. Yes, I did, because at least what the theorized ending of that, or what they tell you happened, I buy that happened. I think it's kind of cool. When I first saw it and didn't know, I was like blocking out because I didn't see it live. I had DVR'd it the first time. It definitely took me by surprise, and I was like, huh. And my wife wanted to set the house on fire. She was so angry. But when I read about it and what it was supposed to be, I was like, yeah, that's a pretty cool idea. Why not? How do you end those shows?
How do you end them?
Whereas Breaking Bad has like kind of the perfect ending, right?
Yeah.
It ties
and Mad Men
every
too.
bow.
I thought Mad Men was a perfect
I
ending.
thought Mad
as
Men
well.
was an awesome ending
Yeah.
too, and I was amazed at how many people didn't get that ending.
Oh,
And
spectacular.
the idea that the people didn't understand that he made that Coke commercial.
That's right.
And seeing all these people on the blog not getting that fact was just the fact that Wiener pulled that off, that he could do something that seemed so obvious, yet people weren't obvious to
Yeah,
it.
really weird.
And what that really meant was, I thought that was awesome. I agree.
You ever make television?
I have never made television. I'm starting to get into it now. And I've had a few offers to get into it because TV starts to, a lot of my associates or friends from feature film have moved into TV. So they kind of are giving me offers to get involved in it. And I would do it in a heartbeat. And I have a couple shows that I'm developing that I don't think are all that great. So I'm trying to make them better before sort of taking them out.
You know what we are? We're actually show enhancers. So if you get a little jammed up on how you think a show can flow,
Yeah.
you can come to 4 Art Films.
Okay.
And we've pitched many shows, and we can jump on board and iron out some wrinkles for
Well, I
you.
definitely need wrinkles ironed out all the time.
Right on. We do laundry.
Do you only do wrinkles on shows, or do you
No.
other stuff?
Yeah. I just felt weird right there.
Yeah, that was awkward.
All right, let's round third.
No
head for
group
home.
hug. No group hug.
Chris Miller, you're
Don't cover up the title.
Yeah. You're an amazing individual.
There you go.
Thank you.
Undefeated. Please watch this. Just watch it. You're gonna love it. If you don't love it, go join your friends in Al Qaeda because
Yeah.
you're un-American.
Or go watch The Undefeated.
Yeah, Sarah
Yeah,
Palin.
exactly.
Once again, always thankful for our great sponsors. And you know something? I know it sounds weird, but Astroglow, speaking of wrinkles, you know something? Astroglow. Just go with it. Nice face thing. My face is feeling better.
I'm astro glowing right now.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Venice Duck, get your quack on. All right? If you're drinking and you're feeling like you're like a mother flocker, get yourself
And listen, if you go up to Chavez Ravine and see a Dodger game, make sure you
they're at
order
Dodger Stadium.
the duck. Okay?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then, of course, see Christian Warren over at the Melody, one of the best blues bars in Los Angeles.
That's right.
Right across the street from the In-N-Out Burger at LAX.
That's right. The Melody Bar.
You guys, check it out. We've got one more question
Oh, yeah,
from
that's right.
from
Wizard
our man,
of the Knobs.
The Wizard of the Knobs.
Hold on. Here it is. Travis Spencer. All right. You ready?
I'm ready, man.
Just to give you a little backstory, our first technical director, Travis Spencer, moved to Joshua Tree
Yep.
to write a novel, The Great American Novel.
Yeah.
But he does check up on us, and this is his question for you.
Okay.
Did Sean Combs ever threaten you or try to beat you up with a kettlebell during production of Undefeated?
That's a good question. I don't think he was really into kettlebells at the time. So, and I try to stay away from kettlebells as much as possible for lots of reasons.
Well, can we make sure that people know that he was also the executive producer on this on
Yes,
this
he
documentary.
was. He was a big booster of this film.
Right,
and
but I
a
will
big
point out
believer.
his name was under Chris Miller's.
That's
in the
right.
credits.
That's crazy.
Well, that was
That's
my
right.
only provision for allowing him to
Yes.
promote this movie was to make sure that he got a worse credit than mine. That's usually kind of how I go.
I like it.
To make sure
We'll promote the shit out of
everyone's
anything.
a notch or two below me is really what's most important.
That's right. That's right. All right, you guys, you've been tuning into 1 Degree of Chunky B in the Garage of Love, chunkybee.tv. And I want you guys to spread the word on Chris Miller. He's a great guy, great father. His son is a phenomenal baseball player. And by the way, he knows what he's doing. Undefeated was a great documentary. It was an Oscar-winning documentary. Tell your friends all about it.
Look out for Juveniles coming to a theater
Juveniles
near
is in
you.
post, coming out soon. I want to say, Gary Adler, thank you for all the wisdom and just the joy that you are.
Thank you, Chunky.
And then we got Andy Davey, who's just flicking away over there, making great cuts and
Nice
technical
work.
director of love.
Have you pushed record yet?
Yes.
Okay.
And one more time for the great Chris Miller.
Well, thank you very much.